All right. Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about a topic which a lot of people mess up, and they actually get more and more depressed and frustrated because they're constantly trying to be positive. You know, a lot of people say, be positive, be positive, be positive. Well, let's understand right now, it is impossible for you to be positive all the time. It's not possible. It is not possible. No one can be positive all the time. You know, I've met a couple of spiritual leaders in my path many, many times, and we always have discussions around these points. And they say, even we can't be positive all the time. So that's very wrong advice, because imagine if someone keeps telling you to be positive and you can't be, then you're going to start feeling something is wrong with you. You're going to start feeling like, you know, something's really wrong. You're depressed. So it isn't like that. We must all understand that negativity will hit all of us, and it does hit all of us, and it can be even on a daily basis. Okay. Now it's how we allow that negativity to build up in us, or those negative emotions to build up on us. Now that a lot of that is within our control. And so today, since I cannot teach you how to be positive all the time because I don't know how to do that and it doesn't work, I'm going to teach you what we can do when we have negative thoughts, and how we can actually use negative thoughts and negative emotions to actually evolve, to actually come out stronger in our relationships, in our careers, and even with our health problems. Okay, so let's say, for example, you have a negative thought. Okay, you have a negative thought. Say, for example, you're trying to lose weight. Okay, and no matter what you do, you can't, or you keep overeating even though you know that you're not supposed to overeat. You keep sleeping late at night even though you know that you need to sleep on time. So you feel negative. You feel a negative emotion of failure. You feel a negative emotion of, you know, not good enough because your other friends who are fit are able to do it and you're not able to do it. These are negative emotions. Okay, now you can't just start, you know, trying to be positive. Okay, it's not going to help you. Okay, so you may try to be positive, like, okay, I'll get up tomorrow and, you know, hit the gym. I will sleep on time, and you'll fail again, and again you get negative. Now what we need to understand is, and I want to use an example, you know, about 10 to 15 years, and it still happens today, but not much. Okay, when someone died, especially a close relation or a loved one, there was a grieving period. Okay, every tradition in our country, every religion in our country has a grieving period. Okay, so there was a grieving period that you went through. It was called mourning, where you are hit with a negative emotion of loss of someone else. You know, someone's died. However, we don't know what the reason is they've died. Okay, and there's that emotion which is in you. Okay, and people would go through a week, some religions 10 days, some religions even 30 to 40 days, where you go through a period of mourning. Now, what happens in that period of mourning? You are facing the emotion. Okay, you are going through the emotion. You're allowed to grieve. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to, you know, family comes together. Each one consoles one another. You know, so you are actually facing the emotion. You're not pushing it away. Okay, and what happened with this happening? People were able to move back into their lives a lot more easier. This doesn't mean that you wouldn't miss the loss of your loved one 1 month or 1 year or 10 years down the line, but you've gone through grieving. Today, most people, it happens in a day and everyone has to get back to work the next day or maybe 2 days later, which means the grieving and the mourning process is very incomplete. Families don't spend enough of time because someone's flown in from Canada for the funeral, or someone's flown from the US, and everyone has to get back and all of that stuff. And what happens with most of these people, that emotion was never really truly felt or faced. And then it suddenly starts coming up in your life. You suddenly start feeling guilty because the more you think about the person. Like I always say, you know, a lot of guilt when it comes to death is only us knowing that we've not been able to spend enough of time with the, you know, with the person who's died or whatever it is, or we've not finished the grieving process. So technically today we are taught that every time there's a negative emotion, you need to push it away. You need to numb it. You need to do something. So someone says, oh, you're feeling bad right now. Listen to your favorite song. You're feeling bad right now. Go out shopping. You're feeling bad. Have a drink. You're feeling bad. Have a cigarette. Okay. See, this is okay sometimes, but at some point, if you don't face that emotion, if you don't feel that emotion, it's going to come up more and more and more. So some people throw themselves into spirituality. Some people throw themselves into yoga and meditation and pranayama. I know people who have been doing that for years, and yet they've not overcome negative emotions. Because we need to understand, I mean, yoga, pranayama, seeking a spiritual path is not wrong, but you cannot use it as a band-aid to suppress an emotion. You have to feel the emotion at some point. Whatever is not felt and suppressed is only pushed back deeper into you. So imagine if you want to say something to Luke, okay? You want to say something to me. but you're suppressing that. You're not saying it to me because of whatever reasons. You may have 10 reasons you don't want to say it to me. Okay? Every time you feel like saying something to me, you're pushing it, you're not saying it. So there's a huge gap between what you want to say to Luke and what you are saying to Luke, which means you're not saying what you want to say. Now that is only going deeper and deeper into your system. It's going to build and it's going to build and it's going to build and it's going to build. It's either going to hurt you a lot or one day it's going to come out. It's going to come out like vomit comes out of your mouth. You know, you've ever seen someone vomiting anger on someone? Have you ever seen someone vomiting bitterness and resentment on someone? That only tells you one thing, that it is built up in that person so long, so long. I'll give you a personal example. You know, I've had members in my own team. I've had people I've worked with, clients or business partners over the past, you know, where sometimes I just let go of things. You know, they've annoyed me. People have crossed my boundary. But I don't say anything because I want to keep the peace. I want to avoid the confrontation or whatever it is. And I just think like someone will get better or the condition will change. But it doesn't. And then one fine day, I will explode and everything will come out. And now whose fault is it? The other person? No, it's my fault. Because I suppressed those emotions I didn't want to face, or I just thought it wasn't important, or I didn't want to give my time at that particular point. But the only person it hurt was me, and of course the other person, because now it's going to come out in anger or disappointment, and I'm going to use words that I wouldn't want to use, but it comes out with anger. So you see what's happened over here is, it is still my fault. Okay, I can't blame the other person because I could have told that person at that point that you've crossed boundaries, I don't like what you're doing or whatever it is. But I suppressed it, and you can't suppress anything. I think today, the biggest lesson that you can learn is from the healthcare. I mean, I don't call it healthcare, I call it the sick care industry, where symptoms are only suppressed. And you think you're getting healthier until you get the new symptom and a new drug, and then another new symptom and a new drug. And then you're on a laundry list of medication and you're stuck in a cycle of chronic illness. That's because you've only suppressed symptoms. You've never addressed the root cause of the problem. So if your headache is caused because of sleep deprivation, or your headache is caused because of constipation, no matter how well a Crocin or a paracetamol will work for you, okay, you will constantly have headaches until you address the constipation or you address the sleep deprivation. The same thing with an emotion. Don't try to be positive all the time, okay? When there is a negative emotion, there are two things that we can do. Number one, learn to feel it, okay? Today we've been taught that sadness is not okay. Envy is not okay. Anger is not okay. Lust is not okay. Yes, these things out of control are definitely not okay because they can lead to crime, they can lead to serious things. But face it, every one of you watching this video right now, including myself, we've experienced these negative emotions. It doesn't make us a bad person. Even a child is born with all of these emotions. They're called the 7 deadly sins. So don't try to fool yourself and try to act good like you don't have this in you. You have it in you. You do have it in you. Maybe you become so good at suppressing it, so it comes out in various other ways. You know, envy comes out in so many other ways. It starts off by, you know, oh, I don't care, he has a bigger house. Oh, I don't care, she looks prettier than me. But inside you are boiling with envy. And it's only, you know, lowering your immunity, creating more problems. And then it's making you a bitter and resentful person. But there's a way to flip envy on its head. We're going to talk about today. Now, I'm at a point in my life where, of course, it's not because I'm special. It's not because I have healing powers. It's because I have an edge over most people. I have access to thousands of people over the last 10 years who talk to me. So through their experiences, I've learned to change and evolve. Okay? And I've learned to look at most negative emotions as something that you shouldn't push away. If there's something that is in you, you have to face it. I can delay it for 1 day, 2 days. Like, you know, like if I've messed up with my wife, it's definitely something I don't want to confront today. So maybe I'll delay it for another day and 3 days and 4 days. But I know deep down today that I will have to confront it at some point. I will have to face it. Otherwise, it's only going to make me the loser and in some way her. So I either decide to do it today or I may decide to think about it and do it tomorrow. But you have to face the emotion. You have to. You know how many people today are sick because they have the inability to forgive? They can't forgive. And I'm not saying forgiveness is easy. It's a negative emotion. It's not just unforgiveness. It leads to residual emotions of bitterness, resentment, anger, which eventually turns into hatred. And these are destructive to your genome. It's destructive to your health, your immunity, your heart, everything. Okay? So when it comes to a negative emotion, forget about positivity today. We're talking about negativity and negative emotions. Number one, feel it. When you break up with someone or you get divorced or you're out of a relationship or someone dumped you or someone hurt you or someone cheated you or whatever it is, okay? Whatever it is, go through the pain. Most people will take to drugs, alcohol, excessive shopping. Do that initially. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. You need to feel better. You need to comfort yourself. But you need to go through the journey of pain. You can blame the other person. You can abuse them. You can do what you want. But finally, you need to sit down and you need to go through that pain. You need to go through that feeling. Okay? And I'll tell you why. Because every time you go through a feeling, like imagine if I give you something, I tell you I have news that's going to make you really happy, and I give you only half of the news. How are you going to feel? How are you going to feel? You need to feel, you need to hear all the news to feel completely happy, right? It's the same thing with a negative emotion. You need to feel the whole thing, even if it means you're going to get sadder and sadder. Because let me tell you something. If you're postponing the negative emotion, it is going to come up at some point. And maybe in staggers when you're in the midst of a new relationship, or maybe it's preventing you from getting into a new relationship because it's fearful for you. It may come up when you're in the prime of your career. It may come up while you're in your pregnancy, delivering, going to deliver a kid. It's going to come up for sure. Trust me on that. Okay. The point is, face it. You have to go through it. Now, it's difficult, but how can we make it easier? The second thing about negative emotions, we may ignore. By pushing down these emotions, by not facing these emotions, we may ignore critical pieces of information that is important to us. Okay? What are these emotions? Or what is the situation that has caused this emotion in me, trying to teach me? What can I learn from it? What do I need to pick up? You see, when we're hurt or when we're going through negativity, we naturally think it's never our fault. We naturally, and maybe it's not, but there is always a lesson to learn. A couple of days ago, I had a guilty mom. And she said, look, I can't get over my guilt. I'm a working mom. I have 3 kids at home. I know I should give up my job because my kids are all getting sick and hyper. They're showing signs of hyper behaviors. And my pediatrician told me, you choose between your kids or your work. Okay. And she's saying, I'm feeling so guilty and I can't deal with this feeling of guilt. Okay. Ask her one simple question. I said, it's okay to feel guilty. I understand. And it's also okay for you to figure out a way where you can work and look after your kids. But what can you learn from this guilt? We actually made her break it down. And you know what she said? Oh, so guilt is teaching me that, number one, I actually do want to spend time with my kids. And part of me also, I want to have a career because it gives me a sense of self-worth. So she's learned 2 things, okay? There are some women who say, I just want to be with my kids and give up their job. Some will be, I'll just hire a nanny and sort it out. To each his own or her own. Okay. I said, what else is this guilt teaching you? So then this guilt is also teaching me that maybe I can be a little more time efficient because even when I come home, I'm still working. Maybe I can just do work at office and decide right now when I come home, all the time is for my kid. I said, what else can you learn from this? She said, maybe when I'm spending time with my kids, I can put my phone away so I give them undivided attention. That's all. Do you feel guilty anymore if you can take care of these points? She's saying, no, I think I'll feel way better. So you see, you use a negative emotion to learn something about yourself, or you can also learn something about someone else. Okay, someone dumped you. All right. What can you learn about this? It's so easy for you to blame your partner and blame men or blame women and blame the genders and all of that stuff. Useless. You get nothing out of it. Your blame is not changing your life in any way. It's not going to bring back your relationship, nor is it going to change the other person. Wasted emotion. What can you learn? So maybe you learn a couple of things about men, or you learn a couple of things about women, maybe about being too vulnerable, trusting too much. Maybe you've been naive and put your full self out there too early in the relationship. Maybe you learn different things, okay, about yourself and also about the other person. So now you're using that negative emotion. Yes, you're going through the pain. It shouldn't have happened, all of that stuff. Great. Go through those feelings, but take away from it. So now when I'm learning from it, now all of a sudden that emotion doesn't make me feel, it doesn't become very negative anymore. I can actually possibly convert it into a positive. How many women or men have been hurt in relationships and moved on into life, got out of marriages and got into new ones. And when they look back, they say, I'm so happy it happened. But at the time it happened, absolutely not. They've learned from it. In fact, some of them have got way more beautiful relationships that they would never have believed could exist, because they were okay getting out of that previous relationship and learning from it. Now, a lot of people, sometimes we attract to people. So if we get people who abuse us all the time, people who lie to us all the time, people who cheat on us all the time, people who are egoistic, you have to ask yourself, why am I attracting these kind of people? And you will find a lot of it is to do with you, your vibrational energy, the way you think, your childhood, the kind of people, the kind of emotions that you're addicted to. You know, if you've ever come across an abuse in a relationship where a man beats a wife, today it's changed, even, you know, wives beat men and stuff like that. I'm not going to beating yet, but I'm just saying, you know, man, wife, whatever. And when you ask these women, why don't you give up this relationship? You know, you have a black eye or whatever. And all these women, most of them never give up the relationship. And there's a deep psychological connection with this. Most of them are addicted to an abusive childhood, and they think it's normal. They think it's normal, or they think that they deserve it, or they think that they have to be submissive because of years and years of abuse that they've allowed in themselves, or they've unfortunately gone through in their childhood. So, you know, you have to break these things down. My point, coming back to negativity, is make enough of room in your heart to let your emotions run, to feel them. You can cry, call up 10 friends, all of that, that is okay. But finally, your 10 friends can never solve your problem. What you're going to get is advice and opinions from 10 different people, not from your inner heart, not from yourself. So one girlfriend of yours will say, hey, dump the guy. That's horrible behavior. Another girlfriend will say, no, I think it's quite cool. Another girlfriend will say, no, don't do this. Another girlfriend will tell you something else. You know, you can listen to feel better because, you know, even someone listening to you makes you feel good. But finally, you make the decision, right? With what? Opinions and advice from friends? That can be a guiding benchmark. You need to make it from your heart. Do I deserve this? Am I willing to go through this again? Can I find the courage to forgive and not hold it against the person if I choose to be with this person again? All of these things is your work, your job. You can't outsource it. You can't delegate it. You can't hire someone to make these problems go away. So you need to make enough of space in your heart to allow every emotion that comes in to go through it. It's not the end of the world. The strongest people in the world are the ones who have gone through the most hurt and the pain, but they've learned from it. They've learned from it and come out and created extraordinary lives. You need to be that person. So let's say you have a negative emotion today of envy. How do I flip envy? Okay, all of us are always striving. And of course, the more time we spend on social media, the more time we are unconsciously, even though we like to think we're not comparing ourselves with other people, we are. Oh, someone else's kid is doing better than mine. Oh, she looks better than me. Oh, he looks hotter than me. All of that stuff. Our minds are doing that. We know that when you know that you're addicted to the likes that you get on your social media. You know that for sure. Okay, but now that builds up into envy. I want to be like him. I want to be like her. That's all great. Great. It's great to aspire to be like someone, be like your role model. But when you start seeing envy coming into you, that's an emotion you got to face. Why am I feeling envious? It's a normal emotion. It's an absolutely normal emotion. Then it becomes bitterness, anger, resentment, and then you try to pull down people. So, you know, trolls on social media. What's their characteristic of a troll? It's very simple. Okay, they can't stand to see other people's success. They want to pull you down. They want other people to agree with them so they feel more important about themselves. They want to provoke you so they get attention because they have no attention in their lives. Their lives are already shallow and miserable. So that's not just trolls in the virtual world. We're also talking about trolls in the real world. You all know that person who's trying to pull you down at work. You all know those people who are trying to pull you out of your relationships, who are jealous of you. You all know the people who are jealous of your success or your husband or your wife or your kid. You know, all of y'all face that. It's envy. It's real. It's existent. When it comes to envy, the best thing you can do is flip it on its head. What do I mean by flipping it on its head? Let's say today you see someone who has a beautiful house, okay? And part of you feels envious, okay? You don't have to meditate. You don't have to do pranayama. You don't have to go to Vipassana or go into the mountains to, you know, figure out your envy. Flip it on its head. What you do is pray for the person who built that great house. You know, feel happy for them genuinely. Go up to them and not fakely, but from your heart say, wow, that's a beautiful house you got. Don't be fake like most people. You know, like, you know, you have so many fake people in society. You'll find a woman today telling another woman, hey, you've lost so much weight. You look so beautiful. And the next moment she's telling 10 other women friends like she's put on so much of weight and she's got so many pimples on her face. The same thing to do with men. The same thing. That's all hypocrisy. Don't be a hypocrite. So the whole point is when you have envy, flip it on its head. So what you can do with envy is when you see someone with a better house, appreciate them. Offer thanks, you know, in your prayers for them that, hey, wow, I'm sure they feel so happy. It's so good. I feel truly happy for them. And another thing that you can do is pray for your success. Yeah, wow, someone's done it, which means it's possible to build a beautiful house like that. What do I what am I missing right now in my life? Maybe I have to work harder. Maybe I got to save better. Maybe I can develop a new business stream of revenue. Okay, use someone's envy to motivate you. I mean, use someone else's success to motivate you to be a better person. Or sometimes just pray. Say, I wish I could have that house too. And you pray for that house or that success or whatever it is that you're envying. So, whenever people are jealous of you, pray for them. Pray for them. If someone's envious of you, pray for them. Wish them well. We usually try to say that, oh, you're this, you're that, whatever. Pray for them. Pray for them. Offer the gratitude for them in your prayers that night. Always give someone the opposite of what they want. Someone's offering you anger. I'm not saying I'm not that person. If someone like gets into a fight with me or anger, I'm not yet matured or evolved that I'm going to turn the other cheek or whatever. I am probably going to get back in anger, but at night, I'm going to actually pray for them because I know that they're hurting. So that's how it is. That's how you handle envy. Okay, now when it comes to depression, anxiety, all of these things, break down these feelings. Break down these feelings. Except for the people who are depressed because of real chemical imbalances, everyone else who has self-labeled themselves as depressed have to work and face these feelings and realize it's okay not to have something. It's okay for other people to be better than you. It's okay for whatever. But now, what can I learn from this? I'm depressed because my girlfriend broke up with me. What can I learn from this? Remember the law of compensation. You may want to also reflect on that. What could I have done for this person to cheat on me? What could I have done? It doesn't give the other person the right to cheat on you, but still, the action happened. It takes two hands to clap always in life. Remember that. So you want to reverse this role, okay? By reversing this role doesn't mean, get me right, it doesn't mean they have the right to do that to you. It just makes you think, what have I done for this person to be this way? There is always a lesson you can learn. And in the people who find it the most difficult to forgive, these are actually the people, in most cases, who have contributed to the problem. But the ego and the pride is so strong, it doesn't allow them to see beyond what their possible faults could be. Okay? Now today, I'm not talking about child molestation. I'm not talking about rapes. I wouldn't know how to handle that. I wouldn't know, how to apply what I'm trying to teach you today to that. I'm talking about all our superficial negativity that happens every day. Someone says something to you, someone backstabs you, you didn't get that promotion, all of that stuff. Apply the law of compensation. You reap what you sow. Have I really, truly done enough? Or have my friends or my family always told me I'm the most beautiful person, I'm the best, I can have any guy I want, I can have any girl I want, and you step out in reality and you just realize that's not the real world. Okay? So maybe you were set up to think that way with false emotions and false words from friends and family and all of that stuff. Okay, but that's not the real world. So coming back to negativity, don't try to be positive all the time. Number one, feel the emotion completely. Today, I want you to write down three emotions that really stress you out or you really feel bad about. You could be in a bad relationship. You could be struggling with weight. You've not got that promotion, whatever it is, whatever that negative emotion is. Okay, write it down and feel each emotion in detail. It may make you more angry, good. It may make you cry, good. It may make you hurt more, very good. That means you're doing a good job of feeling the emotion. The next step is, what can I learn from this? One, about the situation, the person who caused the problem, and even myself. We all make mistakes. Please understand that. When there are breakups and all of that, everyone always thinks it's the other person's fault. But let me tell you how many times it is also the other partner's equal involvement in what has happened. The actions are different. The intentions are different. Okay? The behaviors are different. But there is a contributing trigger for everything that happens in life. It's called cause and effect. Everything that is happening in your life right now is due to something, okay, that you didn't do, or you did, or you said, or you should have said, but you didn't say. All of that stuff is involved. Doesn't make you the bad person. Makes you a smarter person. Where does wisdom come? Not from textbooks. Wisdom comes from our own learnings. Ever seen how everyone gets motivated when you put up a nice quote? Everyone gets motivated. How many people take that quote and change their lives? Very, very few. Because motivation is not true. You can't depend on doing things in life only when you're motivated. Okay, because then you have a constant job of keeping yourself motivated all the time. Break down your feelings. So number one, feel the feeling completely. Number two, what can you learn? What values do you learn about yourself? You know, sometimes when I get very, very, very angry, my voice changes. I have this very harsh kind of, you know, dominating voice. And when I hear, because sometimes I've sent a couple of people whose voice notes, and when I hear it, when I'm calm, I can't even believe it's me. I can't even believe it's me. And I'm admitting it. I'm not going to be fake with you. But now I know I have something to learn. I have to learn about a value about me, that when I'm angry, I really can't talk to people. I shouldn't talk to people. I should step back until I'm calm, because when I see red, I don't know what I'm saying from my mouth. So at least I can step back and learn to overcome that negativity. So I'm learning from that. It could be the other person's fault. I'm not just stupid to get up and start shouting at people. They have done something. They've done something terribly wrong. But still, it's my fault if I can't control my own emotions. So I have to feel this emotion. And many times I've heard that voice note, and sometimes I've stopped it because I can't even hear myself. So if I can't hear myself, how is the other person going to hear myself? But great. What do I learn about that? That, Luke, your anger is uncontrollable if you don't take a step back and if you don't pause. You know, you don't care who you're talking to. You know, everyone just becomes an object. It's like a trigger point. It's like an enemy that I have to attack. Okay. So for me, okay, it's not like I'm a bad person, but if I continue doing that, definitely it is. So I have to step back and look at that. So I've learned a lot from that. I've also learned about the nature of people that I want to be with. So I'm not going to be with people who trigger me to that point. I don't choose to be with them. I don't want to choose to be with toxic people who will put me in that trigger point. At the same time, I have to also work with that trigger point. So number one, feel the feeling. What can you learn from it? What can you learn from guilt? What can you learn from envy? What can you learn from lust? Okay? Don't fool yourself that you're not lustful. Every man will look at a girl. Of course, there's the right way of doing it and the wrong way of doing it. Okay, there's something called staring. There's something called being a lecher, and there's something called an appreciative stare. You know, my dad's 78 years old. I see him checking out women on the beach as well. It's as simple as that. And you'll be lying to me if a woman says that they don't check out men. This is all good. This is natural. Okay, there's that little bit of lust and all of that stuff. Your imagination goes wild, your fantasy. That's all good. But don't try to fool yourself that you don't do that. Now, it's dangerous if you let this grow out of control and you start being, you know, you start looking at women or men with leching eyes. You start literally raping them with your eyes, and then your behavior changes, and then you go home and you get addicted to pornography, and then you expect your partners to behave like porn stars. All of that is serious, you know, help that you need. My point is, it is there in everyone's life. Don't fool yourself. But again, if you let the emotion go out of control, you suppress it, it's a big problem. It's a big, huge problem. So you got to access, you have to allow every emotion to be felt so that you can learn something from it and do something about it. So feel the emotion. What can you learn? What values can you learn from resentment? Okay, what can you learn about yourself every time you feel hatred? What can you learn about yourself when you feel angry? What can you learn about yourself when you're unable to forgive anyone? Okay, learn. Okay, what can you learn about the other person? What can you learn about the situation? And then if this is constantly happening, ask yourself, why do I keep putting myself in this situation all the time? Simple. A young girl who believes that, or a guy, okay, who believes that smoking and drinking is the feel-good factor. And if I do that, I'll attract more men and I'll attract more women, or teenagers, I'll attract more. It's called conformity. I do it because it's the coolest thing. Oh, if I'm seen with a beer at every party, or, you know, getting drunk at every party, it's my attention-seeking mechanism unconsciously. I'm easy to get, I'm easy to sleep with, I'm easy to whatever and stuff like that. You need to go back into your pattern and say, why do I put myself in that situation? Is my self-esteem so low that I need to do that? Do I not have self-respect? And it's okay not to have these things. It's good. All of us lose that at some point, but we build it up when we learn. Okay? What is your pattern that gets you into trouble all the time trying to teach you? Take away from that, and it doesn't become negative anymore. Okay? Now, the third point is, how can I convert the negative into a positive? So I'm struggling to lose weight. I'm feeling jealous of my friends. I'm doing this. Break it down. Feel the emotion. What can I learn from this? Maybe I'm lazy. Maybe I'm overeating when I know I shouldn't. Maybe I don't sleep well at night. Maybe I'm not working out the way I'm supposed to. So you're learning something from this. Otherwise, you're just blaming yourself, calling up 10 friends and everyone saying, oh, don't worry about it. No, you still look great. No, why don't you contact this nutritionist, Luke Coutinho? Why don't you do this? Why don't you, oh, there's this new plan in Belgium. There's this new spa in Austria. Why don't you go there? It's not helpful. Not helpful. What can you learn about yourself from this condition first, and do it first? Okay? And the third point is, how do I convert a negative into a positive? which means, fine, I'm not losing weight, but now I know what I need to do. I need to be more disciplined. I need to cut down sugar. I need to do this, 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 this. When I do all of this, I am going to have the best body. I am going to attract the best partner. I am going to be the best parent. So you've converted a negative emotion into a positive. Yeah, I broke up. I went through this. I went through pain, whatever. But I'm a new person now. I know the kind of person I'm going to attract. I know how I'm going to behave in my next relationship. So now you've taken a negative emotion and you've converted it completely into a positive. And every time that same negative emotion happens again, you go through the same process that I told you, make it into a positive. And after that, that becomes an impression, a neural circuit in your subconscious mind. And eventually that becomes your thought, your feeling, your behavior, your experience, and the result that you get. So that's how you handle negativity. Now, if you don't do this exercise, guess what? Negativity is going to win. Because as you know, it has a downward spiraling effect. Once it starts, there'll be the next thought, and a fear, and an anxiety. And soon, your mind will be spiraled down into negativity, fears, and illusions, which are not even real. So you got to be mindful. Then when you're going through negativity, be mindful about it. Don't try to be positive at that point. Don't fool yourself. It's not going to work. By now, you would have figured that out. Be mindful. That's why I ask people to meditate, sit in silence, do things with complete focus, no distraction, because that teaches you to live consciously. So when you're suddenly not feeling good, maybe you don't need another coffee. And think back and look, maybe 2 hours ago, someone said something to you. 2 hours ago, you got a bad email, and that's still playing on your mind. Go through that feeling. What can I learn from it? Is there any corrective action I can do? And do it. It may seem very simple what I'm telling you. Guess what? It is. It's difficult because most people don't do it. Most things in life are difficult because people don't do it, or they start to do it, but they're not doing it consistently and with discipline. So that's all for today's session. Whatever negativity you're going through, let me give you an example of a patient, okay? A patient who gets maybe cancer, diabetes, or whatever and stuff like that, okay? Again, it's a negative emotion. Why me, this. Fine. Go through the feeling, go through denial, come through acceptance, and then what can I learn from this? There's always something you can learn. We know that if you have cancer, that you did have a low immune system. We know that 100% sure. So you can learn that, my immunity was low. Immunity is going to be part of my healing process. I had diabetes. Okay, my diabetes was caused because of my overeating and my late night meals. That's something I can learn from. Let me take my medication, but let me change these 2 action points and get out of this diabetes. There is always something you can learn from a negative emotion, from a negative experience, even from the death of a loved one. Even from the death of a loved one. Sometimes someone has to die for us to realize how important the rest of our family is, or how important our close friends are. It takes a close friend to die for you to start becoming more conscious and spending more time with your other close friends, right? There's a lesson in everything. Sometimes we have to learn it the hard way. So every single negative emotion, try to get something out of it. Try to feel the emotion. I know we don't want to feel it. I know we don't, but you have to put yourself through that process, right? You have to put yourself through that process. I promise you, it's not going to make you weaker. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you wiser. And it's going to help you to move from negativity to action. And when you're in action, you automatically move to more positive feelings. So don't try to be positive anymore. It doesn't work. It's a waste of time. Absolutely a waste of time. At the end of the day, an emotion is negative or positive. We give it that name. An emotion is an energy. And energy are emotions in motion. Think about that. Happiness is an emotion. It is an energy in motion. Sadness is also an emotion, which is an energy in emotion. Now, we make it good or bad. Some things that make me happy will make you sad. It's the same energy, but we perceive it differently. Some people will be happy to get out of relationships and to move into ones quickly. They're different people. It's the same energy, but it's the amount of attention and focus that you give it and the kind of perspective that you look at it, which makes it more negative or more positive. Have a great evening, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, and breathe deep.